Okay, so welcome back. So, what is the aim for today is that the online quiz game that I'm currently building in Intelligent State, I'm actually building in the process of testing it and finding errors so that I can fix it. So, the main problem right now is while displaying the stats after the user completes the quiz, the stats they are not being displayed properly. The data is not being fetched properly. So, for example, right now the leaderboard section, like suppose if I do multiple sections or if multiple users do it, it's not able to display it properly. So that's what I'm going to work on right now.
Left a star glowing in your eyes when I'm not aware. You left a scar. I fall into your lies all again. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Let me feel it again. Let me feel it. Fall into your
Okay, so I'll show you the current progress. So I mentioned that the stat section was not working properly, but now I'll show you. Now I did a sample quiz and testing. I'm testing the program currently to see what I can improve. So you can see that we have the best category, the worst category, best difficulty, worst difficulty, and based on different category, what was the score, date, everything, leaderboard, everything works. So the way I figured out, and one thing that I realized while making it was that I needed some way to test it better. So whenever I test a method is something that does a single function in a code. So what I do is like in a method at every single step, I wanted to add a debug so that whenever it runs, I wanted to see whether it's running exactly through the exact same steps. So that's what I wanted to see. So that's what I want, and that's what I did yesterday. And I was like, my thought process was like, create a method, create debugs, run it, and once everything works, then comment out debug. Commenting out means like making it inactive. So then ChatGPT told me that instead of doing this, you can use something called as logger. Logger is like you write the code and you use it instead of debugs, and there are certain levels like logger.find and logger.info, so that when you want it to be debugging when you're testing, you can keep it logger.find, so it shows the debug statement, and when you keep logger.info, it doesn't do that, so that this can be used when you like put it into production before release. So that's what I've been reading upon. So what I realized that after finishing all the like quality of life improvements, I want to add quick navigation, few tweaks, and improve the quiz logic. I want to change the debug statement with logger because first I want to get practice for it. I want to do like lay all the foundation before I switch to the web interface. So one thing after finishing that day, while using the program, I felt like the quiz app is working too fast. So what I do, like I'm manually adding delay so that the app feel like program feels smooth to use. And like I mentioned, I want to add quick navigation, which is something I did in my last project as well. The way I think about it is like suppose you're on a screen on an app. At any point, if you want to go anywhere else, you know how to go. That you know that logic. What I want to mimic in my program, like so today is another day, and well, today's been a bit of a struggle, so I just want to talk to you about it. So, as I mentioned in the last clip, I was working on the quick navigation. Before that, I was working on some delays I finally implemented throughout the program, and now I started to work on the quick navigation. But as I was working in code, I realized that it didn't actually make sense, and the solutions I was coming up with and try to fit in didn't really make the code simpler. I wanted to be simpler, but it was making it more complex. So I thought I sacrificed the feature temporarily for the sake of simplicity and efficient code. So that's what I've been doing. So then I realized like I felt very weird, bad that I couldn't do it. I felt a bit off. So then I thought of leaving the session and stop coding for today, but somewhere else I thought it was a distraction, so I just continued it. So then I realized what's the next step, so I just moved on to the pause and resume a feature. And then when I was trying to understand what the code is, how to get it, I was not understanding, maybe because I was feeling. But then I realized, let me take a step back. What I need to do here, I realized that I need to understand the core logic. So how we are approaching this is, when I use a pauses, the question, what questions we got correct, what question is on, difficulties, categories, everything else that will need to be saved. So for that we are saving in JSON, which I worked in my last video. So I kind of have an idea of how to, like, what we do, like serializing Java thing to JSON and then deserializing it back to Java. That's what I have an idea. So what's going to do, like, all this saved data is going to be stored in JSON, and then will be stored in the SQL database. That all the user information, statistics, everything that has been running on is currently saved in. So we are plugging to the same database. So then I realized, okay, taking a step back, what do we need to do? Like, it's ongoing process, but I was like, first we'll figure out how to teach me this. So how we come up is, we'll understand the concept underlying thing, maybe with the help of pseudocodes, and then when I understand it, I will integrate it into the app, and if I have any doubts, I'll ask AI for help. But if not, the aim is like to increase as much as me thinking about. I already think about how the code should run, how everything should be designed, how everything from the user point of view. I think about it and I design, and then AI helps me to code snippet. But now I'm on some concept I don't know, so I'm trying to learn it and apply it. Bit annoying when you don't know what you're doing. So this uncomfortable feeling is something that I am trying to become more comfortable with. Figured out a plan and all the information that it needs to help me teach. It's almost 10 to 11, and I have to get up early tomorrow morning. I have to go to job. After that, when I do come back home, I'll get to it. So I'll see you tomorrow.
Upstream, are you with me? Round the rainbow, color in the city, rushing through me. Down low, upstream, are you with me? Feel it. Rainbow, color in the city, rushing through me. Down low, upstream, are you with me?
So since I last checked in, there's an exciting update. We have finally finished working on the pause and resume system. Let me show you how it works. So if you see here, this is a quiz that I've been testing so that I can test the logic. Now if we go deep, I typed in pause and this is saving logic. It shows that it's actually working. And now when I try to log back in and start a new quiz, it asks me whether do you want to continue, or if you know. If it no, it deletes that resume session, all the data related to it. So I typed in yes, and we pick up where we left off. Voila. So yeah, we finally finished working on this pause and resume system. Well, this has been very informative and educative for me, because I'm understanding and creating new classes. I'm writing the code, but for each part when I'm testing it, something is wrong, and I have to create a helper method. And when I'm running it, somewhere in one part of my code is in different format, and one of the common issues was I'm saving the user as I used to save the user ID as a string with simple text instead of random generated ID, like it's called UUID data type. So that's what I had to switch in a lot of different places. It kept breaking it because you can't save UUID in the like SQL database, so you have to convert into string while saving, and again string back into UUID data type. It's a tongue twister to say that for the short. There's a lot of this thing, fixing errors. But one thing I noticed, like as I'm fixing more and more errors, it sounds obvious, but when you test something and you get error, you don't usually understand, especially when you're beginning coding. But lately I've been understanding what and pinpointing where exactly, and even coming up with the solution. I'm not knowing the syntax how to fix it, but I'm identifying the source, why it's not a working potential solution, and I'm asking ChatGPT for the syntax to help me do it. I'm feeling the progress in this. So that's it for this video. I'll put it in the timeline and start editing, and while editing I'll start working on some quality of life improvements, so that the next time that I'll check in with you guys, you'll see a much more polished version, and better dealing with the debug. I want to clean up all the code, make it clean, easy, understandable. So that's the aim. So if you like what you saw, subscribe to this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Follow for more. Have a good day. Bye bye.